everyone. So my name's Tom Sharing. For those who are perhaps joining us for the first time, work as part of our digital architecture team within ICT services. I look after how Apple platforms or how Apple devices are managed across all of our environments, so that being school, preschool, and corporate. So joining me today, as Abigail mentioned, is Emily from Jamf. Emily, I'll turn it over to you for an intro.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the screen shared. My name's Emily. I am the Jamf Customer Success Manager for DFE South Australia, and I'm here today to talk to you through some of the application management features that we have available in Jamf School. So I will just start sharing my screen. So as I said, we are going to talk today about application management within Jamf School. I have shortened the name because the other one was a bit was quite long, but we will touch on those aspects. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is what application distribution methods we have available to us within Jamf School for distributing or obtaining our apps and also distributing them to our end users. So we do have Apple School Manager, which I'm sure you are all familiar with, where we are able to purchase our apps in volume and distribute them out through Jamf School using a token that is linked from Apple School Manager into Jamf School and allows us to distribute those licenses across our users' devices. And that covers both iOS and macOS App Store apps, or apps that you would obtain from the App Store but are able to be purchased in volume. The second option there is Apple App Store, which can be a bit confusing because they are coming from the same place, but this is buying an app or getting an app individually. And if we were to add an app within Jamf School using this Apple App Store method, the user would actually be prompted to enter their Apple ID to allow the distribution of that app to happen. So because we want to make our end users experience as seamless as possible, we would highly recommend that you're using that Apple School Manager method, and that's been pushed out through Tom's direction as well, and you'll see that as the primary method in your environments. We also have on the macOS side of things something that's called app installers. Now, app installers are provided by Jamf. They are third-party applications that typically don't live in the Apple App Store. There are some double ups that are available in both the App Catalog and the App Store, but primarily it's those applications that aren't available in the App Store. And these packages are developed and maintained by Jamf on your behalf, and removes all of that packaging. If you've done any macOS management, you would know that packaging and repackaging of apps when an update comes out can be quite time consuming. Almost one person's job could be dedicated to that. And we also have in-house content. Now this could be apps, custom apps available from as an iOS app or a macOS app. When we're talking on the macOS side, you will see that most, if they're not coming from the app installers catalog or the App Store, they will be considered as in-house content. Now that's content that you have uploaded yourself. It might be a package that you've been able to download directly from a vendor and it's all in the right format and you're able to just upload that straight to Jamf School. It may also be an application that you've had to repackage with something called Jamf Composer. You can also, in-house content also covers documents and also books. So you can deploy documents and PDFs out using that in-house content functionality. So here we have Apple School Manager. So this is where we would go to purchase our apps in volume. I'm sure you've all seen Apple School Manager and the apps and books section. So the way that that's set up in your environment is there's purchases that can happen at the top level location and there's purchases that can happen at your school level location. Now that's controlled through that token, that volume purchasing token that we talked about, and that would leave you, there will be a top level one and also your school level one. your licenses are associated to that token, and that's how you control who can access and how many purchases you have. Volume purchasing tokens are required to be renewed every 12 months. So if you do have a school level volume purchasing token, you will need to be renewing that every 12 months and making sure, or maybe I say 11 months. We don't want to leave it to the last minute and let it expire, and making sure that that's kept up to date and that someone's responsible for renewing that token. I'll hand over to Tom to talk about the top level apps that you've got available and how those are managed.
Thanks, Emily. So yeah, so as a lot of you who have adopted Central Apple School Manager and Jamf School would know from your own environments, if you're coming from an environment where you've got your own local school, Apple School Manager, which would chances are is probably all schools, you're likely bringing in app licenses from multiple Apple School Managers into Jamf School. Unfortunately, at the moment, Apple don't have a process to migrate app licenses from one Apple School Manager to another. Even though it's a much requested bit of functionality, that would be nice if it was available. So managing tokens, you're likely going to have a couple of tokens to have to manage. Come back to that in a moment, but in terms of top level apps, one thing that's been a recent implementation to, I suppose, reduce some of the workload for techs in schools is to have a core selection of free applications that have been cyber assessed and deemed as low risk apps, deployed to all school locations in Jamf School via a top-level token. So think your Apple apps, think your Jamf apps, your Microsoft apps, and some others. It's quite a small collection of apps at the moment. It's only about 30 odd, and it will grow over time. But these are core apps that we see schools using. We're able to get data out of Central Apple School Manager to identify, how many apps and what the popular apps are. We've made these available on a school level. Top level token, which if you go into Jamf School, go to the settings section, volume content purchasing, you'll see that top level token listed. So chances are you could in fact have as much as 3 or more tokens where you're pulling apps from, which can, I suppose, create a bit of complexity. But help with reducing that, we've recently implemented a process where our central support teams will go through and update tokens from the Central Apple School Manager. So in schools, you only need to be responsible for updating tokens from your own local Apple School Manager if you are using them. I think that pretty well covers it for this section, Emily. So back to you.
Yeah. So as Tom mentioned, we have our school level token, and this is where you would create that. So within, you can see there that I'm sitting within a school location rather than the top level location, and I'm not currently seeing a token in there. So I can click that add service token, and this would be coming from my Apple School Manager rather than from the centralized Apple School Manager. So this is where we would be assigning your if you've got already pre-purchased applications, and as Tom said, they can't be transferred across. We don't want to lose that value that we've already paid for in those paid apps. So we want to keep those. So we want to add those tokens. So you can have as many tokens as you like in here, but you've got to consider that you do have to keep them up to date and renew them. And as Tom has just said, that you now have a team that is going to help you support with that renewal process, which is great. One thing I do want to point out about tokens is tokens can only be used in one location. And that actually means one MDM or one Apple configurator. So if you are using Apple configurator for any of your workflows and you do have it logged in with the Apple ID that has been used to create the token, that will actually take the token away from Jamf School. And what that means is during that time, any applications that are trying to deploy with licenses off that token will actually fail because they can't access that token anymore. You will see an error message come up in your Jamf School that will say this token has become unmanaged, a little orange message, and you can say reclaim. But if you don't remove it from Apple configurator, they will just keep fighting backwards and forwards. So each time you open configurator, it will take the token back, and then you'll get that message again in Jamf School. So if you do need that level, you do need to still use Apple configurator, we've recommended creating a separate token for Apple Configurator to use. So this is where we can renew our token. So I might hand it over to Tom to go through, because we've kind of touched on all the points that we've already on those slides. I might hand it over to, the one thing I will call out is that the renewal can take place anytime in the 12-month period. So you don't have to leave it till the last day. You could make sure that you renew it every 9 months or even every 6 months, depending on how many tokens you have and how much work you want to create for yourself. But that just ensures that that token never expires.
Perfect. All right, so we're logged into the Central Apple School Manager here. So if you click down the bottom left and on your name, I'm logged in with a Jamf School Service account, which I use, preferences, and then payments and billing. It's not an obvious naming section where you'd expect to find tokens, but that's where it is. So with my access, which is as administrator, I'll have access to every single location token from within the Central Apple School Manager. Your access is going to vary, so it is going to show you tokens for the locations that you're assigned the manager or content manager of. So this is where you can log in and you can download them there. So you'll see the download icon next to each one. One thing, a bit of an aside, some locations are prefixed with site number, some are not. The backstory there is whether or not you've had your site has had the EduSync Apple functionality by Wand enabled. When that is enabled, it takes the school name from the SEDS database, which doesn't have the site number prefixed. So we'll update it and name the location without it. So it's just a little bit of context there. So that is content tokens, not to be confused with device tokens, which are assigned to your MDM servers in this list here, also in preferences in the main section here. So you will find that you will download your your devices tokens from here. So they have a different file name, the actual token that gets downloaded. An apps token is .vpp token, and a devices token, I believe, is .p7m or similar. So in Jamf School, if we jump into here, EduSync, I want Jamf School. Hopefully I haven't been timed out. Been having some fun with the new unified login window across our sites, Emily.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a short term.
So what URL are you going to? Are you going to DFE or are you going to login.jamfschool?
Yeah, so typically it will default to
login.jamfschool. DFE, yeah.
If you discover that, correct, it'll bypass it. Yeah. Okay, so in Jamf School, once again, so if I jump into the Jamf training location for demo purposes. All right, and if I navigate to organization settings in the sidebar here. All right, and I've got these options here. So I've got my content or my apps token. All right, and you'll see once again, there's that top level token that I mentioned. This is a separate one. This is for corporate. So we have 3 different ones. We have one for schools, one for corporate, one for Mac specifically. And if I want to upload a apps token, I'll drop it in here. So I've downloaded it from Apple School Manager previously, upload it here and click apply, and you'll see it then listed there. And then from there, that allows you to sync apps through from that token. And then similarly, you've got the devices one here, but that's not specifically for the purpose of today's session.
Excellent. So the next thing I wanted to sort of dig into a bit more was app installer apps. So these are Mac OS only packages, and these are the apps that are not available in the App Store typically, and they are packaged and maintained by Jamf. So when an update comes out for these apps, Jamf performs that update for you and updates the package version in app installers, and that will be automatically installed on your devices that have those apps scoped. The apps, when you do scope them for the first time, will be installed on the next check-in. If you do want to force that, you can go to the device and ask it to check in, and that will get it to download. So these apps are being delivered via MDM. So they're using the same framework as they would on an iOS version. One thing to call out is that, like with iOS or iPadOS apps, when we unscope an app in the iOS side of things, it does actually remove from the device. However, with our app installer apps, they don't get removed. So there isn't an uninstall process when you unscope an app. And even if you click remove and just completely remove that app installer entry from the records, or from the inventory record, it won't uninstall the app. So there is no uninstall process happening when you do that de-scoping or removal of the app. So that's just something to keep in mind. You would need to use a script, or if the package includes an uninstaller package, you can deploy that out and have that do the uninstaller for you. So we also have the in-house packages. Now these might be PKG files that have been downloaded from a vendor directly. And if you're lucky and they're in the correct format, you can upload those straight to Jamf School and not make any changes. Oftentimes we might want to make some changes to some packages, and that can be done with a tool that's called Jamf Composer, which is available for download in everyone's Jamf account. You can access that and download it. It's a small macOS package that you can then run Composer, and it detects the changes that were made while you were installing the package and creates you a new package. You can then upload that package to Jamf School. Now, the one caveat on Jamf School is that you do need to make sure that you are building PKG files only. DMGs are not supported, so they have to be flat file PKG files for them to be able to be uploaded. As with our app installers, Jamf School does not uninstall in-house macOS packages. So the same process can be used if you are looking to uninstall a package. If it comes with an uninstaller, you can install that uninstaller as you would have done the installer process, or you can write a script and you can upload that script into Jamf School and have that script run against the computers to remove that app for you. Once again, the apps will install on the next check-in. So a couple of considerations for macOS packages, both on the in-house apps and the app installers. As I've said, unscoping does not uninstall the package. App installer packages at this current point in time, if you were to add them at your location level, it actually takes over and adds it for everyone, but every other location can't edit it. So what we would recommend at this point in time, and this is a feature request that we are working with the product team to resolve, is that you get Tom or someone at the top level to add that app installer. Otherwise, other people can't go in there and scope the app, basically. So they have no ability to, once they click on it, they'll just get a 404 type message to say they don't have access. So the in-house packages can be shared at the top level or created at a school level, and that they do now. There was some issues with them previously. They do now sit at the school level only, so you won't see everyone's applications. So at the top level, they can be shared down. See, if you see there in the screenshot, the sharing area, that is where you can share that app down to the locations. So Tom, if he's putting a in-house app in for you, it can be shared down to every other level using that sharing functionality. If you create it at the school level, only you'll be able to see it. So that's so that can be created as per normal. So the app inventory view, I'm sure you're all very familiar with this, so I'm just going to touch on this really quickly, but you will see all of your apps, whether they be macOS, App Installer, iOS, all appear in this area. So you will see that both top level and school level apps appear here. And if they are a top level app, they will have that orange mark, that orange flag that says shared app. to indicate that it's coming from the top level so that you know that. Also, you can see what type of app it is, so where it was sourced from, whether it was an app installer app, whether it was something that it's been uploaded via the in-house apps, or whether it's a volume purchasing. And you would also see there if it was an App Store app. Yeah, it would list App Store as the source. So here we can perform bulk actions on those apps. So we can tick a box or tick as many apps as we want. We can scope. We can delete. We can retry the installations of them if they've failed. This gives us a great interface to, particularly at the beginning of the year when you're wanting to roll out multiple apps at once, you can click through and select your apps and scope them all at once to the correct scoping mechanisms that you want to deploy them with. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was our options for distributing apps. Now, I think most of them, Tom, in your environment are set to automatic installation. Yep, yeah, so all of yours are set to automatic installation, which means that as soon as they're scoped, they get deployed to the device, or when the device next checks in, they will automatically appear on the device. We do have also the option of on-demand. Now, what that looks like in the iOS space is that you would also deploy down an application called Jamf Student, or Jamf School Student, it's called, which allows the students to go in and select which apps they'd like to install. So perhaps if you didn't want all apps to be deployed out on the first day of school and you wanted them to be able to go in and select some different apps, you can set them to on-demand and also deploy out Jamf Student. You can also do that on the teacher side of things. So using Jamf Teacher, within Jamf Teacher, there is a resources section and then apps, and any applications that have been deployed as on demand will appear in there and can be requested to download. You still need to make sure that you've got all your licensing correct and all of that sort of stuff. Otherwise, the license won't be able to be assigned, but it's a quite simple process for a student or a teacher to go into those apps and request to have those apps downloaded onto their device. These settings can be set at a per app level or multiple apps at one time, or they can also be set differently for different device groups. So you could have one, perhaps you wanted to push it down to students, but you wanted to make it on demand for teachers. So you can have different options depending on which depending on your different device groups. So I'm going to switch to Jamf School, which we will have timed out. And I have Okta, so it just passes me straight through.
Hopefully something that we'll be able to have in our environment before long.
Yeah.
Much
nicer experience, yeah. So let's have a look what we can do in our apps and inventory section. So here we could, as I said, select multiple apps at a time. So obviously if you were scoping, you'd want to make sure that you were selecting both or all the same types of apps to be doing some scoping. And once you've selected multiple apps, you get this extra bar across the top where you can click Edit Scope and you can add a group. This is where you can change whether it's automatic installation or on demand and where to get the licenses from. So most often in most environments these days, it's assign license to devices. Very rarely these days are we using assign license to users. So I'm not going to go on a scope anything because we don't want to change anything in your environment. But yeah, this is where you can do that multiple scoping. You can also click into the individual app. Oh, I don't have permission, Tom, so I won't do that. But you can click into the individual app and do your scoping from within the app. So the reason that that's probably a good example if you're a new school coming on and Tom hasn't added you to be able to access the apps yet. This location hasn't been given permission So this is what you would see. This is what you would also see if you were using the app installers and a location level had added the app. This is the not very informative page that you would receive to say that you don't have the permission there. Did you want to jump in, Tom?
Yeah, just a point of clarification around the different ways that apps get shared in Jamf School. So with the in-house apps, like Emily's demo at the moment, they're explicitly shared from within the actual app itself. So if we were to go into, say, Air Server there, we can actually set on a per location basis which location we want that top level macOS app package to be made available to. That's in contrast to what I spoke about earlier with regards to the top level app token for ASM distribution. Similar sort of process, but I suppose that the scoping of that is done within the settings section of Jamf School. On the actual token itself, you define which locations you want that token to be made available to, whereas for in-house app packages, macOS packages, it's done on a per app basis. So just a point of clarification there.
Yeah, I'll just go back there. Yeah, so we're looking at a macOS app, so we can have a look into this Apple Configurator app, and we can see that this is an iOS app. And because that sharing is done differently, we can see all of the information here. So we can do our scoping down here also, and this is the same. Looks the same in a macOS app and in an app installer app. You will see this same window, and this is where you can do your scoping. I'm sure you're all very familiar with this process now already. So this is where you can do that individual distribution method. And if we were to add a group in here, you would see do we have any apps? I don't think we've scoped any apps in this location, have we, Tom? So we can also look at our apps in here. And I just wanted to get to an app here so we could see exactly this process when it is scoped. And this is where this little settings icon here is where we can change it from automatic installation to on demand. So I think that was all I was going to show in this part. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the managed app config. Now, the managed app config allows us to provide some custom information down to the app in XML format to pre-configure that app as it's being deployed. Now, there is a bit of a caveat here. It must be supported by the app. You can't just go in and put some values in there and hope that the app will pick them up, unfortunately. I see that app config is a really great place for configuration. Unfortunately, the adoption across the developers hasn't been that great. So we don't see it used in too many places. But the one that we are sharing here is for your Cortex side of things. So that does allow you to configure the app config information. So as I said, it's used for providing the settings to the app. It's written in XML like a plist. So if you've done any plist building on macOS, it's very similar to that, except a much shorter version of that. Each app will have its own values, so you will need to work with the app developer or find the app developer's documentation to find out what keys are supported and how you should format that XML so that it can be used for that application. You can actually have different managed configurations per device group. So you can apply different XML settings per device group if you needed to. So for example, if you needed to have different settings for your students and your staff, you could actually deploy those out at different with different settings but using the same app listing. So we might have pop back over to Jamf School and have a look at that app configuration. So I'm just going to pop into the app here. And it's a little bit of a hidden process. When there's nothing set, there will be an option here that says in very light, small writing, pop your glasses on, and it says show advanced options. And that will pop out this managed configuration option here. And you can, if you select the configuration that you want to use and then do your scoping, that will use the configuration, but you can also use over here, you can change it. So if we had multiple across here, if I did add new, we would get another tab here. We could enter the new information into here, and we can select from down here which managed configuration we want to go to each group. We can also do it at a full app level. So we can do it down here to change it if we did add a new one, but we didn't want to change this information. We wanted to, so it's a great option for testing as well. If you wanted to create a new one, instead of changing the old one, you could create a new one to say version 2. You can switch over. We can change to this one, and we can change that for the whole app. Sorry about that. It's all happening here today. So we can change that configuration for everyone using this tiny little settings option here. We can say change that manage configuration. While we're in here, you can also see that you can change the app level settings here to change the on-demand installation for all the groups that are scoped. You can do a retry for all any failed app installations, etc. So there's actually quite a lot under this tiny little button. And so then the next final thing that I wanted to sort of touch on was troubleshooting. So we will often see app installations failed, and you can get some quite helpful information through the app inventory list or the managed app list on the device level. In this details option here, you can click and it will give you some details as to why that app installation failed. Often it might be internet connection was dropped or something like that, or not enough licensing, or those types of errors that you would see in there. Also, a common scenario is that the installation says that it's installed successfully, but you're not able to see it on the home screen. Now I am going to go and give you some demos of where we can troubleshoot these things in a second. We can also get macOS apps that are stuck on installing. That could be for reasons that the app hasn't reported back. And app installations are pending, and we can clear those pending commands and have it retry. Purchased a new app, but it's not showing in the app inventory. Now, this is can be a common thing and can happen when an app is in the trash. So when you do trash an app within Jamf School or remove an app within Jamf School, it does go to the trash. It will stay there for a period of time. I can't remember I think it's 30 days, 2 weeks. And if you go to get that app again, it won't actually come out of the app, out of the trash. It will just, you'll get it'll just won't appear in your inventory list. So you can go to the trash and you can get it back out of the trash, and then you can rescope that app and do what you need to. But sometimes people are not aware that the app is in the trash still, and they go and get a new app and it doesn't sync into their list from Apple School Manager. And the reason is because it's sitting in the trash. So let's pop back over to our Jamf School. So I don't know that we're going to have any failed apps in here to look at, but you would see here in the status that it would say failed, and you can click on the link and it would give you those reasons. You can also select multiple apps and retry to install on missing, and retry the install apps that are stuck on installing. perfect for those Mac OS side of things apps that can be used. You can also go to the device level. If we go to a device and we have a look at the inventory, if we go to the managed apps section, we can see here if this was failed, we would be able to retry the installation, and we can also do a reinstall. So you can also use this area to delete an app from a device, and yeah, so in here you can do that reinstall option, and you can also retry any failed apps. Now, for the ones that where we might have installed the app and it says it's installed, but we can't see it, oftentimes that could be a profile restriction where we have got the age set to, I'm just going to go into one of these and show the restriction. We might have the age set to under media content. If we've got this set to 12 plus, oftentimes apps like Chrome and the browsers actually have an age of 17 plus, and therefore they may not show on the iPad. So it might say that it's installed, but no one can see it on the iPad, and that can come from this app restriction, restricting them from seeing those aged apps.
Emily, I might just interject there. So this one here comes up quite a bit. So we've got a number of template config profiles in Jamf School, which can be duplicated and leveraged, so you don't have to, create every single config profile from scratch. The template student restrictions profile has app age ratings set to 4+ by default, so it's the most conservative setting. And this will often, trip up some text because you'll go to install apps that are, rated 12+ or 17+. To Emily's point, your third-party browsers typically are 17+. So that should be one of the first troubleshooting steps, is to check that a restriction is not preventing that app from being visible. It's installed, and Jamf School will report it as being installed. It won't be visible, however, because of the restriction being applied. So yeah, that's one to shout out because it comes up quite regularly.
Yep, and it can also happen if there's a safe list or block list on for that app applied as well. That can be another reason why you might not see it. You might deploy it out, and you might not see that because there's a safe list or block list saying don't make this app available but visible at that time. I'm not sure if you're using those in your environment at all, Tom. I think that was pretty much all I had on that side of things. Let me just check. Yeah, so that was all I had for that. So, the other, yes, I remember. So we were talking about if we wanted to check if an application hasn't installed. If we go into the devices at the device level and then the inventory, we can go back to this managed app section, and we don't have have it there. Why don't we have it there, Tom? The check media. I don't know why it's not showing for that.
I don't think it typically displays in this view, Emily. I think it's in the apps inventory section. I think you'll only find it for App Store /ASM apps. So I don't think it's going to show for this particular app.
Yes. Yep. Oh, here it is. Yep. Here we go. So this little little magnifying glass can check the status of the app, and it will tell you any reasons why it might be failed. We can click yes, and it's all fine because it's installed. But yeah, so this will give you the reasons as to why it may not be installing. If there's licensing issues, it will let you know that there's a licensing issue. If there's a token issue, it will also let you know if there's a token issue. So this is a good place to go and check on the iOS Apple School Manager side of things, you get this available, this little magnifying glass to do that check media status and ensure that you can work out why it might be failing. Now I think I'm done.
Very good. Thank you for taking us through all that content, Emily. It was really insightful.